Hi, I'm Dr. Brian Curtis, one of the paleontologists here at Fossil Crates, and today we're on location at the San Diego Natural History Museum, and we are with the amazing Tracy Ford, paleontologist of Southern California, and he's going to tell us about this incredible specimen. Tracy, take it away.
This is a little armored dinosaur. It was found in 1987 by Brad Riney, who has the dubious distinction of finding just about all the dinosaurs in Southern California. It's from the Point Loma Formation, which is a marine deposit. He was working for Paleo Services, which is part of the San Diego Natural History Museum. What they do is they go out to construction sites and monitor it. And if they find any fossils, then they do their best to dig them up. So this is one that they found. Now, the Knoll Construction Company was digging a sewer line off of Palomar Airport Road. Brad looked down and he saw these little brown nodules in the sewer line cut. He goes, those are fossils. He thought it was a hadrosaur because that's all they've been finding. So luckily it was above the sewer line, so they were able to do the sewer line, get to the level of the fossil. Another problem is overburden. There was like 70 feet of overburden. And luckily, the Knoll Company graciously not only dug it out, but they also transported it to the San Diego Natural History Museum.
Wow.
Which then they put it on display as they were preparing it. And I remember going to the museum and checking it out, thinking, oh, that's so cool. And then it was described by Tom Demery and Walter P. Coombs. Now, they just thought it was a nodosaur. Well, there's basically two types of ankylosaurids, ankylosaurs and nodosaurs. The difference is ankylosaurs have a tail club, they lack the big spines. Nodosaurs don't have a tail club, but they have the big spines. But this guy's going to muddy the water. Later on, Jim Kirkland and I re-described this. Now, he encouraged me to work on this. So I prepared this out. It's a little scute, which I think it's a cervical scute. I did some of that, a little more. That's a weird bone. The only thing we can think of is it's got to be a scute of some sort. And just the way it is flat on the bottom, I'm thinking it might have been on top of the shoulder. Here's a cervical scute.
The ring, is that the ring?
Yeah, we think that's part of the cervical ring.
Oh, wow.
And then they got a caudal scute. These are body scutes. Now, unfortunately, no skull material other than teeth was found, but a lot of the pelvis. So this is the pelvis area. So you got your ilia, it's covered with scutes. You got your femur, your tibia, fibula, some of the metacarpals, lots of scutes, some caudal vertebrae, some other vertebrae. There's this weird bone that might be an ulna. It's just fatter, and we just, I mean, it's just weird. So as Jim and I are working on this, we independently came to the conclusion that it is not a nodosaur, but it's an ankylosaur.
Oh, wow.
And we based that on several things. One is the limb lengths, the tooth morphology, and the scutes. One of the differences between the scutes of ankylosaurs and nodosaurs are solid, ankylosaurs are hollow. These are hollow. So we were saying, no, it's not a nodosaur, it's an ankylosaur. Well, it wasn't well accepted. That's okay. Arbor did an independent research on it, on ankylosaurs. She studies ankylosaurs, and she came to the conclusion that it is an ankylosaur. Now, she found something that we should have caught, and that is, this is an ankylosaur that lacked a tail club. Because we have the tail vertebrae from the very end of the tail, and it lacks the long processes that stiffen the tail so it could hold the tail club. It doesn't have that. So now we have clubless ankylosaurs.
So does that make it a polacanthosaurid?
No, that's totally different.
Just to muddy the waters even further. Well, this was muddying the waters because I'm looking at this animal and it's got shells around it. So this was a bloat and float.
It was a bloat and float. And this is when it died, because of the armor, it was flipped upside down. And when it sank to the bottom of the ocean, it this is the bottom of where it landed. So it landed on top of a ammonite, landed on top of all these shells, so left the ribs and stuff, the guts open to the top.
That is amazing.
And because it fell on the bottom backwards, that's why you have such a good preservation of it.
I mean, look at the scutes. I mean, they're in a life position.
Yes.
That is almost unheard of.
Yes.
Amazing. And it is well preserved.
It is.
That's incredible.
Now, if you look at, I don't know if you're able to do it, the pattern of the scutes, they're octagonal.
Mm-hmm.
Other ankylosaurs have been found with the same type of pattern. One is one that I named from New Mexico called Aletopelta limas. And it has the same similar pattern, which I'm thinking, okay, this is related. And the other one is called Stegopelta. It's from the Niobrara Formation of Kansas. It is also a bloat and float. It died. But it was referred to nodosaurs, and I'm thinking, no. These are all related. These are all an ankylosaur. I named Stegopelta name, which again is not well accepted. But anyway, another animal that has similar pattern that nobody really knows about that I will be describing with Sean Smith at Red Rocks in Wyoming, I think, is Ankylosaurus pelvis.
Oh, wow.
That is the only known Ankylosaurus pelvis. And it also has these rectangular scutes.
Wow.
So what happens, because this is the ilium, this is like one big solid piece of bone.
That is just so, the dumb luck required to have this massively heavy animal get washed out, as you alluded to earlier, beyond the breakers,
Yeah.
and then to go armor down, sink to the bottom. And these are in life or death, I should say, position.
Yeah.
I mean, the limbs are, nothing came through and ripped the flesh off the limbs. Nothing, I mean, they left this part of the animal alone.
Yeah. And you can see some armor on the knee area.
Yeah.
You got your metatarsals, got the really cool shell.
Oh, man. So do you think that it sank to the bottom and it was so heavy on the back end that the legs quickly hit the silt and maybe got partially buried right away so they didn't get picked off?
Yeah. And one of the reasons why I called it Aletopelta, I like names that mean something. It means wandering shield. Alet is wandering and Pelta is shield. Named it Coombs Eye after Walter P. Coombs. Another reason why I called it Aletopelta wandering is it wandered out from this land to the ocean, float and float, and because of plate tectonics. Now, plate tectonics plays a big role in this. And everything west of the San Andreas Fault during the campaignings, this is from the Point Loma Formation. During the time of this animal, when it died, where it landed was actually 150 feet below the water. Now, one of the reasons why they could determine the depth of it is through invertebrates, because diatoms and some other invertebrates, because they only live at certain levels, so they're able to determine this was 150 feet down, even though it was found in Carlsbad, which is still another 100 feet above sea level.
Thank you, invertebrate paleontologists around the world, for looking for oil and figuring this stuff out.
I and some others believe that Southern California was down by the southern tip of Mexico. If you want to find out what animals lived in the Campanian in San Diego, you have to go to British Columbia. So that is how far it's moved.
Because of that strike slip, is it's just been...
Strike slip. Before that, it was a subduction zone. Because that is where we get all our mountains in the peninsular range.
Yeah.
Because what happens is one plate rides over the other one, and magma comes up and forms all the mountains. So 70 million years ago, it changed from a subduction zone to a strike strip.
So Wanderer, what a clever name, because it wandered from what is today's Baja tip, and it has migrated all the way up to Southern California.
Yes. Another 20 million years, we'll be up by San Francisco. Why it changed from that, I don't know. Since then, all our mountain ranges have been eroding. They haven't been growing anywhere. Which makes me think, 70 million years, how high were those mountains? Because they've eroded that much. Now, in the Sardia Formation, near this area, they found boulders. And, they know those boulders are from our mountains, which are like 20, 30 miles away. How are these big, huge boulders getting from our mountains to the coastline? Storms. Major storms.
When you look at this animal, what we really see is you've got a shark tooth here. So we've got a squally corax of some sort, I imagine.
Yeah.
We've got an ammonite. We have some kind of bivalve of some sort, unless it's a brachiopod. Snails. So gastropods. You've got the dinosaur itself. So we're looking at least 5 different groups of animals, all preserved. So 5 different paleontologists could come in and study this animal.
Sure.
That's what I love about paleo. Plus the marine geology, plus the sedimentary geology around it all. It is such an incredible find. And these scutes, I'm just shocked at how, not only how they are preserved, but like you suggested there, that's an eroded, possible bony spike. So is this a reconstruction?
Yeah, this is a reconstruction thing. They didn't know at the time that it didn't have a tail club, so they
well, I'll stand in front of it. So this were you involved in the creation of this? Okay. So Aletopelta, and it's not Aletopord. Dun-dun-dun. Just incredible. So this has got the big sacral shield, like you see on things like Gastonia, and a lot of these ankylosaurs have this big knitted osteoderm. Imagine how impenetrable a turtle shell is. Now make it way thicker with some rugosities on it and an angry tail. This is an impenetrable fortress. Thus Animantarchs and the other cool names that Ankylosaurus folks. So these side spikes, ostensibly, would have kept it from being easily kicked over. Because if I'm going to come in and try to kick it over, this is going to potentially damage my tibia, a femur. You're going to have some massive pain if you try to kick it over. Because its belly doesn't have armor on it. Correct?
No, it does have very small.
So small scutes in comparison to the heavy osteoderms.
Right.
And then you get these in space. So you'll see this on some of the well-preserved specimens. There are these small, little tiny patterned osteoderms and then these larger spikes. Pure speculation, but we do have at least what suggests a large spike.
Yeah, had to go somewhere.
And then these heads. So another cool thing, I noticed that they put the nares up here.
Yeah, that shouldn't be there.
The nares would actually be coming out the sides, almost like the bull steaming. Why the big nares?
I think it might be to cool the animal. Might also be for smell, because their heads are actually very hollow. It's amazing how much they've been able to find the track of where the air goes inside. I mean, it just curves around.
So you said you found teeth. I didn't see any teeth on display.
It's someone's studying it, I guess, because it's
okay.
It's right.
It's the empty spot.
Yeah, it's the
so
empty
the reason I mention it is I was reading that some hypotheses that at least some of these may have been anteaters or insectivores that would have used a long tongue and the powerful sense of smell and those tiny, 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 ridiculously tiny teeth for the size of the body. They've got to be some of the tiniest tooth-to-body size of anything outside of a sauropod. And these big arms to possibly dig. Have you ever contemplated such a crazy hypothesis?
I haven't, but I know Jim Kirkland has, and one of the reasons, and he thinks Gastonia was like that because the beak has a curve in it, which he thinks that might have been where the tongue goes out.
So cool. Well, Tracy, this is an incredible animal, and you mentioned, so how many dinosaurs have you named? I heard 2 so far, just on this talk. What's the third?
Edmontoni australis, also from New Mexico. A lot of people think should be synonymized with Aletopelta. I still think there's a difference.
Okay.
I am working on some other ones, so stay tuned.
Stay tuned. I love it. This was awesome. Tracy, thank you so much for taking time out. It's such a cool thing to hang out with the person that prepared and named the specimen. That's awesome.
Yeah. That's fun.
Awesome. Well, thank you kindly, everyone. Adios.